Welcome to our walk together. Before we embark on this incredible journey, let me share a few important messages. For those tuning in on YouTube, we would be truly grateful if you could hit that subscribe button and become a part of our thriving community. Your comments and feedback on both the video and audio versions of the podcast are not just welcome but invaluable to us. Now, let's dive into the podcast and explore the exciting content we have prepared.
Today we explore how Francis's simple wisdom lights our way, from finding quiet in our noisy world to sharing bread with hungry hearts. Our journey won't mirror his mountain retreats, but we'll discover fresh ways to make space for God's gentle presence in our lives. Let's walk this Lenten path together.
Hello, and welcome to Our Walk Together. This is the place where we have a chance to listen and to learn from others on our walk. My name is Paul Long, and I will be your host, but also a fellow traveler. I'm glad that you're able to join me today on Our Walk Together. Our walk together begins now as we walk our way through Lent. And so I welcome you to our walk together. Remember those quiet moments St. Francis sought in the hermitages of Laverna and Greccio? His heart yearned for deeper communion with God, a yearning we share today, though our paths look different. Where Francis found solitude in stone walls, and we seek sacred places amid digital noise. You might smile at what Francis would think of our modern lives. Our young people spend 30,000 hours online before they're even 25, more time than Francis spent in all of his hermitages combined. Yet, here's what moves my heart. Those age-old Franciscan practices of prayer, fasting, and giving still whisper truth to our busy souls. Today we explore how Francis's simple wisdom lights our way, from finding quiet in our noisy world to sharing bread with hungry hearts. Our journey won't mirror his mountain retreats, but we'll discover fresh ways to make space for God's gentle presence in our lives. Let's walk this Lenten path together. The beauty of Francis's way lies in its simplicity, pure gospel living that speaks straight to the heart. While others built towers of theology, Francis showed us something different, meeting God in quiet moments, in gentle touches, in broken bread together. Have you noticed how Francis saw God? Not as some distant figure, but as one who bends down to lift us up. As Brother Bonaventure tells us, God's presence dances through everything, from morning dewdrops to shared meals to our Blessed Eucharist. Let me share 3 treasures that I believe Francis left us. First of all, creation's sacred song. Every leaf, every star whispers God's glory, making our world a holy mirror. Number 2, hearts for the poor, walking alongside those who hurt, offering not just help, but dignity. And number 3, prayer meets action. Like breathing in and out, our prayer flows naturally into service, and then back to prayer again. You know those traditional Lenten practices? Francis saw them just a little bit differently. Instead of counting sacrifices, he invited us to count blessings in everyday moment. Remember the story of Francis breaking his fast? It's an interesting story because the brothers had all been told that they needed to fast. And when a young brother enthusiastically tried to follow follow his example of fasting, he eventually struggled with hunger. He cried out loudly that he was dying from hunger. As Francis approached him, he feared being reprimanded for his lack of discipline. But what did Francis do? Francis sat, invited him to table, and ate with him. Such a simple act, showing how love matters more than rules. Francis understood starving ourselves helps no one, just as stuffing ourselves serves no good. What if Lent became less about giving up and more about opening up? Francis teaches us to see God in spring buds and friendly faces. Suddenly, our fasting becomes a feast of noticing God's presence everywhere. God's presence everywhere. Here's what touches my heart most. Francis cared less about perfect prayers and more about perfect love. He calls us to roll up our sleeves, caring for creation, standing for justice, serving our neighbors. Even leadership looked different through his eyes, not about power, but about serving one another. Walking this Franciscan path through Lent offers something fresh, a journey filled with joy, shared with friends, alive to God's presence in everything. Remember how Francis embraced Lady Poverty? Let's look at what that might look like in our world of endless notifications and Amazon deliveries. Our phones buzz like persistent mosquitoes, don't they? Here's an idea, something you might want to try. Tuesdays without technology after 7 p.m. Creating a space for family stories and quiet prayer. What if we traded mindless scrolling for soul-filling moments? Try turning on airplane mode in that first hour of the morning, letting God's voice be your first hello. Francis called Earth our sister. Shouldn't we treat her gently? Your kitchen might become holy ground through these simple choices. One meal each week, celebrate God's garden bounty. Choose local treasures over distant packages. And fill your basket with loose fruits and vegetables, saying no to plastic wraps. And also, let your feet carry you whenever they can. Our Franciscan family doesn't just pray about justice. We walk toward it. Brothers and sisters worldwide join hands against human trafficking and environmental wounds. Each step matters in our changing world. The Franciscan way opens doors to serve our neighbor. Maybe there are some paths that we could try together. Perhaps break bread and share scripture with neighbors. Maybe send love through letters to lonely elders. Or guard God's creation in your own backyard. Each choice weaves Francis's dream into today's fabric. When we track our care for creation, we're writing love letters to tomorrow. These are small hacks. They're helping us find our truest selves while building God's kingdom of justice. 7 months of each year, Francis sought God's whispers in solitude. Can we learn from his quiet heart? You know those moments when creation speaks louder than words? Francis understood this deeply. Maybe we can find our own garden bench or forest path, or even just a quiet place where we also can hear God's voice, God's quiet whispers. Here's how we might walk this prayer path together. First of all, read. Choose a story, a scripture, a poem with words that stir your souls. Let them dance off your tongue. And then reflect. Don't just read, but step inside. Feel the dust on your feet. Feel the emotions of those involved in that story. Feel yourself standing there. And also pray. Let your heart speak naturally to God, like talking with a dear friend. Have you ever heard, and I'm sure you have, Francis's love song to creation? Written in 1225, his Canticle of Brother Sun speaks of sun and moon as family members. Let me share how he saw God's family. Brother Sun, carrying God's own light. Sister Moon, dancing with stars in heavenly beauty. Sister Water, pure and humble, serving quietly. Brother Fire, warming our nights with gentle strength. Sister Earth, Mother, who feeds us all from her garden. Something beautiful happens in those quiet moments. Our angry hearts soften into love. Remember Francis's quiet, hidden times, just letting his spirit align with God's gentle will. Here's what I believe about Francis's way. We don't need perfect prayer corners in our home, or altars, or designated prayer spaces, or even long hours. Even 5 minutes of holy quiet bears fruit. Maybe it's in your living room, or on the couch, or on the front porch, or any spot becomes sacred when we open our hearts to God's whispers. Francis's simple wisdom lights our modern paths in surprising ways. St. Francis's gentle spirit touches our everyday moments. Think about this. Office hallways can become sacred spaces. Those fluorescent lit corridors, they're holy ground too. Every challenging meeting, each difficult conversation with a fellow worker becomes our chance to grow. Like Francis, finding God in leper colonies, we discover grace in deadline pressures and team transitions, remembering how Francis gathered his brother. That's our model for leadership. Less about climbing ladders, more about holding hands. Picture your workplace as a family table where everyone gathers their gifts. Kitchen tables and prayer benches are important things. Our homes sing with Franciscan music when we listen closely. Each family member adds their unique note to God's symphony. Even washing dishes becomes prayer when done with love. The secular Franciscans remind us family life isn't just important, it's sacred ground. Those morning rushes, evening homework sessions, all holy moments waiting to be noticed. And we need to think about digital crossroads. Let's talk about our online lives. The wise ones suggest this Franciscan traffic light for how we use social media. First of all, green light. It's green light when you share God's joy through those tweets and those posts. A yellow light. Pause before clicking. Listen before typing. And a red light. Remember real hugs. Beat emoji hearts. Did you know that over 504 million souls gather around podcast campfires? Our Franciscan path calls us not to condemn, but to meet them there. Just as Pope Francis suggests, right where they are. But here's the hard truth. While screens connect us, and they are important for that, they can't replace breaking bread together. They can't replace personal, physical presence. Like Francis, walking village to village, we balance digital bridges with flesh and blood embraces. And so, what has Francis taught us? Remember how Francis walked barefoot through Assisi streets. His footsteps still echo through our busy world. While our phones ping and screens glow, his simple wisdom lights our path like stars through branches. What if Lent, this Lent, right now, became less about giving up chocolate and more about opening our eyes? Through garden prayers, quiet screens, and helping hands, we can discover God's presence in surprising places. Have you ever noticed how serving others brings heaven closer? Francis whispers a precious truth. We grow best together, like wildflowers in God's meadow. Whether we're praying under backyard trees, sharing soup with hungry neighbors, or sending kind words through digital spaces, each moment holds holy potential. As we walk together through Lent 2025, shall we walk with Francis's way together? His path shows us something beautiful. When we align our daily bread with heaven's dreams, God's presence fills every corner of our lives like morning dew on grass. Grace touches everything. Our Lenten journey is not passive, but active. Not about giving up life, but about living a fuller life. May God bless you with his voice this Lent.
We are absolutely delighted to have you with us on this wonderful journey. We truly appreciate the incredible support from our growing audience and how our listeners enthusiastically share this with others. For all the latest updates about the podcast, make sure to visit the website at ourwalktogether.com. To be the first to receive news about our next episode, simply send us your email address, and we will gladly add you to our newsletter mailing list. Rest assured, we never sell or share your email addresses. If you have questions or concerns, please email us through the website. All emails are answered. Thank you once again for taking the time to be here today.
Well, the music means that our time together is at an end. I would like to thank you for walking with me today. It's been a great blessing. All of the information about the podcast is available on the website ourwalktogether.com. Please invite your friends to also listen. You are the best advertisement. And so, until we meet again, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord let his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you kindly and give you his peace.